beyond polarity. Then that sounds like a dude that's ready to set you straight on philosophy.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks for the opportunity to chat about this stuff because it's very interesting, and I like to do a lot of research and think about it.
Okay.
Things like this. About Marcion, it's funny to consider whether or not God is consistent through the Old and the New Testament. It's an interesting question, and I like to remember that the part where Jesus is talking to a bunch of people, and then there's these kids that come, and he looks at the kids, and they're like, "No, get away!" And the kid goes, "You're ugly," and then he summons these bears, and the bears slaughter the children.
You talking about that's not Jesus? You're talking about Elijah, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. That would be silly if Jesus, instead of saying "let the children come," had them slaughtered.
He put a trap on me, right? Because he thinks. Have you looked at any of the exegesis of that passage?
I've looked at a lot of the scriptures, and but I just want to talk to you without going through theological lingo, just like rational realism. Like, how do you're Orthodox Catholic? Is that true?
Right.
Okay, who for you has authority on truth? Like, where do you get your truth from?
Ultimately, it would be divine revelation. So that would be the totality, the deposit of faith committed to scriptures and to the tradition of the church.
Okay, but you're making a lot of critiques about the church, right? About the Roman Catholic Church, about the Orthodox Church. So
sure, but how does that doesn't negate the position?
Well, I'm just trying to understand how you come to your conclusions. Like, if I am going to be aligned with truth, should I just follow everything that you believe?
No, you follow whether the arguments are solid or not, right? So you're confusing me with the arguments. So no, it's not about following me. It's who has the better argument.
Okay. So then it's more about us and our logic and reason rather than the scriptures and the tradition.
Well, I don't believe that the logic and reasoning is out of accord with scriptures. I think that the scriptures are them. I think divine revelation is itself the basis and the grounding for how we can have logic and reasoning at all.
Okay, but you also were critiquing people that take the Bible as the foundation. Do you believe that it's...
No, I was critiquing people that believe the Bible alone is a foundation. That's the Protestant view.
Okay, I got you. So it's the tradition. So
it's both.
How many popes, where did it go off the rails in your opinion?
The Orthodox Church dates the schism to 1054 officially, but the Roman Catholic Church dogmatically teaches error at the Council of Lyons in 1274.
Okay. So in that case, back then, before that rift, do you think that everything that the church was doing was good and that we should go back to that?
Well, you say everything that the church was doing because the church is a lot of people. So everybody in the church people individually make mistakes, but we don't think...
I'm not talking about individual people. I mean, just the churches.
You said everything and everybody, so...
Well, let me tell you what I mean. I mean the church, what they espoused, the head of the church, what the doctrine was.
Well, we're not popes, so we don't have a head of the church.
I'm not asking. I'm not saying you're the head of the church. I'm just asking.
No, we don't believe that there's heads of the church. We're not papists. Okay. So you're saying what the head of the church does is bad, and there is no head of the church.
Okay, what's the difference in the rift? What is the main rift about?
The role of the Pope and the doctrine of the Filioque.
Okay, so what went wrong in your opinion?
The papacy became lustful for worldly power, and over many centuries conceded more and more to grasping at worldly power, and by eventually, say, 11th, 12th century, the Gregorian reforms, they pretty much proclaimed themselves to be god emperors. If you look at something like Dictatus Papae in 1274, So that's, I think, the root of it is pride and grasping for geopolitical power.
Fair enough. And you mentioned earlier capital punishment, and if I recall correctly, the church was burning a lot of people. Do you think that was a good thing?
Yeah. So you're talking about the Spanish Inquisition, which burned a couple thousand people in the late Middle Ages in the West, because that didn't happen in the Orthodox Church.
Okay, so before 1000, they didn't burn anybody at the stake?
No.
Okay, interesting. And so your authority comes from a different...
So where does your authority come from? So you've asked me about my position. What's your position?
Yeah, it's evolved over time. Basically, the first thing that kind of like woke me up spiritually, I would say, was Jesus' teachings, right? The Gospels.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's repeated throughout, is the love of the truth, and that always resonated with me. So
what about when Jesus identifies? What about when Jesus identifies himself as the one who's the God of the Old Testament? How does that fit with your argument earlier about Elisha, which you mixed up with Jesus?
Well, tell me where he says that. In which gospel and which?
So you're spiritually awakened by the teachings of Christ, but you're not aware of any places in the Gospels where he identifies himself as the God of the Old Testament.
I want to hear your argument. I'm familiar. I just don't know where you stand, what you believe.
Well, okay, John 5-9, he identifies himself as the God at Mount Sinai talking to Moses, and as the God of Abraham who ate with him.
Okay, so I don't take every scripture and every word as inerrant. That's
right. So it's ad hoc. It's the places that you don't like you throw out. That's called ad hoc, right?
Well, I mean. Yeah, that's how the church is.
Right, it's ad hoc. Yes, right. So I like that you admit you're ad hoc.
No, I cherry pick. Everybody cherry picks. You cherry pick.
How did I cherry pick?
Everybody cherry picks.
I don't think everybody. You're just asserting that. What's your proof that everyone cherry picks? Where did I cherry pick?
If you're gonna give a sermon, you're gonna choose scriptures.
That's not the same thing as cherry picking. Do you know what you're talking about?
You're choosing what you're going to talk about, and what
that's not the same thing as cherry picking inconsistently to ad hoc create a position. Those are two different things.
Look, again, I'm telling you my position. My loyalty is to the truth.
Okay, what is the truth? And you said it's ad hoc picking the scriptures you like and don't like? That's not truth.
It's outside of you and me and our thoughts.
Okay, what is it?
God. It is God.
Your truth is God. Okay, how do you know that it's God and not your delusion?
That's a great question. It's something that we're all aspiring towards, and we're working on.
Okay, so how do we judge between my position and your position? How do we judge between what's true and what's false?
Which gospels were written last?
Now, I don't think you have any idea at all what you're talking about at all. Okay, like literally no idea what you're talking about.
Which gospel was written last?
What scholars are you relying on for the dating?
Okay, that's fine if you don't know. It's John. And John.
I know what scholars. I want to know how you know that. You're saying that. How do you know that? I know what scholarship says about the dating of the Gospels, right? I know that they think John is the last, right?
So do you think it is or not? I don't know.
I don't even think it's relevant to this question because that has nothing to do with whether you know it's true or false and how you know which things to choose. That's the question. I'm asking an epistemic question.
Yeah, and I'm trying to elaborate on why.
Okay, but you're relying on things that don't answer that. You're saying, well, the dating of the gospel, what does the dating of it have to do with how you know which parts are true and false? What's the epistemic principle?
Here's the logic on it, right? Let me elaborate. So you have 4 gospels written at different times. Most credible scholars.
I asked you an epistemic question.
I'm getting to
no, you're not. No, I don't think you even understand what that is. You're just telling me questions that don't answer the You're answering with things that don't answer the epistemic question.
You don't know what I'm answering because you're not allowing me.
It's not an answer because I can already tell where you're going. You're talking about most scholars. That's when you cite most scholars as your next sentence.
Credible scholars.
Who's begging the? Do you understand what begging the question is?
Yeah.
How do you know you've chosen the right scholars?
Yeah, how do you know, right? We're at the same point.
That's a tu quoque. I'm asking you the questions. I already answered. So fallacy. Can you stop with the fallacies?
I just would like you to have a conversation.
What is the I know, and I'm asking a specific question about epistemic principle as to how you know what you're choosing. What is that? And you said the scholars that are reliable. Begs, that's not an epistemic question. So I can just, do you understand? I can just say the scholars that I like. Would you accept that?
Reason. Hey, logic and reason. That's what you do too.
You think I just sit here and say logic and reason? So the response is just to say logic and reason.
Wait, that's what you said.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
That's how you determine
what can we help you in some way? Like, is there a facility nearby that we could help you to? Do you even understand the questions? What do you know what an epistemic question is? What is that even?
Yeah.
What is that?
The principle of believing what is true.
Well, it's
and how do you get to it?
The principle as to how we would know what's true and false. Correct. Correct.
You're being very combative. I just want to.
It's called a debate stream. What is the first word in the stream?
Debate without getting heated.
Well,
you get really upset.
I'm not upset. I'm not upset. I don't put up with stupid answers.
You keep interrupting me.
Yeah, because you tried to trap me with your first question about Elisha, right?
I'm trying to trap you.
Oh, you think it's funny? See, here you're giggling. You can't answer a basic question. You're over here giggling. Now you're trying to act like you're all pious.
Everybody knows that I answer the questions. They can hear.
You didn't answer anything. You just stated that we rely on certain scholars. That's begging the question. Saying certain scholars is not an epistemic principle.
It's connected with using logic and reason.
Oh.
And information.
How do you know you're using the right logic and reasoning?
I'll answer if you let me finish.
You just keep stating. Go.
Okay, so there are...
yeah, so you exactly. No answer.
Where the scripture, where the gospels at the same time. That's very childish of you. But we're all the...
Yeah, because I don't put up with your arrogant, condescending, Gnostic bullcrap, dude.
I'm asking you a question. Were the gospels all written at...
My question was, what's your epistemic principle? Has not been answered. You're asking me a question.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
You're not a very good debater.
Right. I'm not a good debater. Right. So you, who has never debated anybody, I've debated the top people in the world. I'm not a good debater. You don't even know what you're debating. You're lost. You're flustered. I'm trying to help you out. But you think I'm just being mean. You're so arrogant that you can't understand what's at root here. What's that question? Do you understand that? Do you see that? What's your epistemic principle?
When can I talk?
What's your epistemic principle?
Don't interrupt me, and I'll tell you.
What's your epistemic principle?
Are you going to let me answer?
If you don't answer, I'm going to boot you because I'm asking you this about 20 times. What's the epistemic principle?
You keep interrupting me.
What's the epistemic principle? If you keep bitching, I'm going to boot you.
Let me finish. See, you're not letting me finish.
This is a time waster. This is filibustering. What's the epistemic principle?
I'm telling you.
What is it?
It's like you said, logic and reason.
Okay, just saying logic and reasoning is not a justification. Exactly. This is what you get with the idiocy of this is what Gnosticism gives you. Idiocy.